such a pleasure to be able to see you when I'm able to be here and host. My name is Jenny Anchondo, and I am here for another SARE National session. And for people who are new, let me kind of set the stage for how this is going to work. We have another incredible speaker today who is going to inform us and enlighten us and educate us. Pat Alva-Kraker is a business consultant, speaker, trainer, and three-time best-selling author. So what she does in her business currently is she helps entrepreneurs to grow their businesses with ease and grace. Wouldn't that be nice to do everything with ease and grace? She's also the host of A Seat at the Table, the Feminine Voice of Leadership podcast, and creator of the 5-week course, Create Consistent Income Blueprint. So she created this entire 5-week course, but today we have access to her for free right here, right now. So take advantage of it. I will give a quick shout out to her website too, by the way. It's majesticcoachinggroup.com, and we'll share that at the end. Stick around because we'll type that in the chat and everything. As I researched her, I learned that she has truly been through a lot in her life. So she is not just talking the talk and telling us what to do. She has been through layoffs. She has been through changes in career. She is a breast cancer thriver, as they say, and I'll let her share more about her personal story, but I just think it's important perspective to understand that she has been through it just like the rest of us have. So I'm going to mute myself, I'm going to take my notes, and I'm going to look for your questions in the chat. Pat, it is a delight to meet you, and I'm excited to learn from you.
Hola, bienvenidos. Hey, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. And I want to first start with a big thank you to Jenny and Raul and all of SER because of their attention to how important it is for a leader, an entrepreneur to be mindful in these current times. And I also want to thank everyone who's here for taking, an hour of your time. That one of the most important assets that you have is your time and your energy, right? And you've decided to take this 1 hour to learn what it is to be a mindful leader. And so for the next 45 minutes, I'm going to pour into you everything that I know about being a mindful leader. And with that, I want to go ahead and do a share and start with my slides. Again, feel free to take notes and ask questions because that's really how we grow and learn. So with that, I want to go ahead and do this. And as I'm doing that, I'd like for all of you to, share your contact information. We think about growing a business about collaboration. And so share who and what you do. How can people get a hold of you? What's your gift? What's your passion? So that who knows, you might have somebody on this call that can really make a difference in your business and likewise. So feel free to share that information. So the mindful entrepreneur, wow. If you're not a mindful entrepreneur, what really are you? So let's dive into that. So this is what we're going to cover. This is a two-part session. Part one is about understanding what is mindfulness, and what it is to be a mindful leader in your business, in your life, and in your community. We're going to talk about the benefits. What's in it for you for being to be a mindful leader in your business. And we're going to start with a grounding exercise, and we'll go through some practices today. And then we're going to talk about a tool that we can bring into our lives that will even further integrate and a sense of awareness of what it is to be a mindful leader. I do have some homework, and you'll have a week to prepare for it. So with that, let's get started. Okay. So sometimes one of the best ways to talk about being a mindful leader is to talk about what it's not. So I'm going to give you a flavor of both in this one slide. So many of us have a full mind where we're full of thoughts 24 hours a day. Every 2 seconds, we have a new thought in our mind. Throughout the course of a day, we're thinking 25,000 to 50,000 thoughts per day, and they're automatic. We're not even giving any thought to what's passing our mind. And the truth of it is that most of us are either thinking about something in the past or worrying about the future. Like your past meeting, how did that go well? Man, why did I say X, Y, and Z to Jenny? I should have said blah, blah, blah. Man, I really hope I close this deal. I have a meeting after this, and I hope I get I hope I get the deal. Man, I've been waiting for this conversation for a long time. And here we are. Our point of power is in the present, and we spend most of our time in the past or in the future. We're running on autopilot. Sometimes we're not even connected to our bodies. I mean, have you ever gotten in your car to go to a location and you get there and you're like, how did I get here? I wasn't even paying attention to the stoplights. I wasn't paying attention to the traffic, and there you are. So most of us get used to a routine and we're not aware of the routine. Our minds are somewhere else. We're driving from point A to point B, and we're not even smelling the flowers on the way. That's what having a mind full of thoughts is all about. We're subject to outside influences. Instagram, Facebook, the news, everything else all around us is guiding the way we think when we're from a mindful frame of mind. So now let's take a look at mindless. So, mindless, when you have no vision in your business, you're mindless. If you ever worked for corporate and you had a leader that didn't have a vision, they were mindless. We look for shortcuts in our days, in our business. And when something happens, some situation, occurrence, conversation, we react immediately upon what has happened. And many times we just don't want to make decisions. We make excuses to not make decisions. Oh, well, I'll wait to see if they call me back, or I'm going to wait 5 minutes to see what happens. And so we fall back on not making decisions as a standard form of operations. What I find with working with entrepreneurs is that we're afraid to be wrong. We're afraid to make a mistake. We're afraid to have a regret about that decision. And so we just choose not to make a decision, and a decision is made for us, and then we later regret it. When we're working from a mindless perspective, we're stressed and we have no balance. So today you have the opportunity to shift from a mindful or from a mindless into a mindful form of making decisions, of living your life. I will use mindful leadership and mindfulness living interactively, interchangeably, because you cannot become a mindful leader and in just your business. It spills over into your family, into your community, into the way you live your life. So they're both integrated when you become a mindful leader. So when you're a mindful leader, you control your thoughts. You know what's going on. I mean, all these thoughts are going to go into your head, but you can catch yourself and say, oh, okay, I'm thinking about what happened this morning. Let me bring myself to the present. Take a deep breath, right? You're in the present because that's where your power is. As an entrepreneur, your power is in the present because that's when your mind, body, and soul is all aligned and you're operating from this perspective, from totally present, from in alignment, and you're responding. So responding says that I'm going to take a deep breath before I take the next action. I'm going to be mindful about what that person just said. I'm going to be mindful about what I'm feeling. And I'm going to be mindful about the appropriate response in this situation, circumstance, conversation. And when you're mindful, you're not afraid to make decisions because you know yourself well enough and you're paying attention to what's happening in your mind, body, and soul, because the decisions that you're making are actually coming from here, not from here, right? Because we talked about when you're mindful, you're here. And when you're mindless, you're all over the place. But when you're mindful, everything is coming from right here. from mind, body, and soul. And there's this peace of mind that you sense every day and that you operate from this space and you live from a place of balance. Now, have I been in all of these stages? Absolutely. In the past, I was all over the map on these. It was definitely a person that was mindful, that had all these thoughts going in my mind. You know, as an entrepreneur, it was just like, okay, what do I need to do next? I have to close a deal. I have to pay my bills. Am I going to hire an employee? Oh my, what am I going to offer? Where do I need to show up? Blah, blah, blah. And all that chatter goes on and on and on. And it's so distracting as an entrepreneur to have that constant chatter. And I had that constant chatter. It's like all these ideas and like, were coming into my head and I'm like, oh, squirrel. So I go to the next, maybe if I do this, you know, I'll get more money. Or maybe if I do this, I can make a better product. Or maybe if I do this. And I was part of the squirrel, you know, committee, right? There was always a squirrel going on here. Have you ever been part of the squirrel? Do you have a squirrel in your mind? If you have ever had a squirrel in your mind, I want you to enter a 1 in the chat right now. Meaning it's running around, you're going through the shiny penny syndrome. Have you ever done that as an entrepreneur? Come on. If I don't see a 1 from everybody, I want you to ask yourself, are you really being honest with yourself? We've all had that squirrely mind head. What if I don't make the money? How am I going to pay this bill? And all these things come. That's a mindful, right? That's mindful. And then when you become an entrepreneur, I'm like, oh, okay. I take a deep breath here. And then I'll say, I want to go from point A to point B. What is the shortest way that I can get there? And sometimes trying to get the shortest way to a solution isn't the frickin' solution at all. You have to go through the process. You have to go through the process. And some of the other part of being mindless is that we let other people guide us. We let other people make the decisions. I can tell you right now that at one time I was a doormat, 100% doormat. I wanted to be a people pleaser, a client pleaser, a manager pleaser. I wanted to please everybody. And when you try to please everybody, you're a doormat because you're not standing in your power. I wasn't standing in my power. I was letting other people's decisions of what they think I should be doing as an entrepreneur guide my day, guide my vision, guide what I offer, guide what I said. Because I wouldn't stand in my own power and I wouldn't make my decisions and I would let everybody else do it. Well, you know what? It gets tiring to be a doormat. And I got tired. I was exhausted. I was bitter. And I was bitter at other people. And I was and angry at other people. And really, the truth of the matter is that I was mad at myself for being mindless, for not taking a stand on what I valued, for not taking a stand for what I believed in, and saying, who cares if they don't like me? Who cares if they're not on the same page I am? Who cares? You know, I'm tired of pleasing other people because in that process, I am not happy with myself. Was I stressed? Absolutely. What is one of the outcomes of having a lot of stress in your life? Breast cancer. I had breast cancer when I was working for corporate, and I'm like, time out, time out. I had to do a reset because not only was I mindful, but I was mindless in my corporate life. And some of that poured over into my entrepreneurship because I had a business on the side while I was working for corporate. And I had to stop. I had to stop and say, this is got to change. I've got to do a reset. I have to come into my own and realize what's really important for me. Where have I allowed other people to guide my life? Where have I not had any boundaries in my life? You know, where have I not been true to myself that I have caused this situation? So I had to shift to a mindful way of living, to understand what's important to me, to be able to say no. You know what? No is a complete sentence. No is a complete sentence. As an entrepreneur, sometimes we say yes. Now, today, did you say yes to something that you said, why did I say yes when I have no time to go do that? Why did I say yes to signing on to a project when I really don't like the client? Why did I say yes to commit this time when I really haven't spent enough time with my family? How many of you honestly in the last 24 hours said yes to something that you really wish you had said no to? It happens to all of us. But when you become mindful, you make better decisions. And you say no when you mean no. And you start living from here, understanding who it is that you are and what you're made of and what makes you tick and what you value. So that as a mindful entrepreneur, you're showing up from a place of knowing who you are, what you value, who you want to do business with, what you want to offer, so that everything is really truly in alignment. It took me years to get to mindfulness and being a mindful leader. But now I am so aware of what's happening in my day. I can catch myself when I start thinking about something in the past. Yesterday I flew in from Kauai and I landed at the LAX airport and they canceled my flight. And my husband and I had to spend our night at the airport. And so this morning when I was driving, I was thinking, okay, so if this happens to me again, what am I going to do? How did I get caught off guard? What did I have with me or not with me that will better prepare me for that? And so, you know what? Even before this, I was thinking about, okay, I'm traveling to Denver next week, and what if the same thing happens? What am I going to do? I'm like, holy mackerel, I'm going to be on this call in 45 minutes. I need to be present right now, fully. Caught myself being in the future. Myself back in the center, get myself centered, because it's in the present where you have your power. It's in the present where you're able to really listen and observe what's going on around you. Yes, when you ask people, what does mindfulness mean? The first thing they're gonna tell you is meditation. Yes, and we're gonna cover that. And they're gonna say it's about being fully present. Yes, and we're gonna cover that, but there's more to that. So I invite you to play with me, to be open, to experiment on being a mindful leader. And I can tell you, it's not a switch that just happens like that. It's something that you practice. So these are some of the practices. Your core values, knowing who you are, what matters to you, being fully present, being self-aware. I just talked about that with self-awareness and how important it is to be self-aware of what's going on in here, and self-compassion. All of these practices lead to being a mindful leader. It's not just about the meditation. It's not just about being fully present. There's more to that. So, what are the benefits? The benefits is that you're going to make decisions, but you're going to make better decisions. And it's going to take you a shorter period of time to make it. You're going to be in a place of calmness and peacefulness. You're going to be focused because you're going to be more attentive in everything that you do. Everything. You're going to be more productive because you're paying attention to what's in front of you. You're going to be creative because you're bringing mind, body, and soul into everything that you do, which opens your level of creativity from here to here. And the most important one is your relationships get really juicy. They're deep, they're meaningful. You're a good listener. You're really connected with everyone that you encounter, family, vendors, customers, everybody benefits. And that's really the biggest one, because at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. How many of you believe that it's all about relationships? I want to see a 2 in the chat box. Do you believe that at the end of the day, it's all about relationships? I see it too. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take everybody through a grounding exercise. Grounding brings in your mind, body, and soul all together, all aligned. Because as I mentioned earlier, when you're grounded and your mind, body, and soul is together, then you operate from this beautiful space right here in the center of your body. This is done at least once a day, but you can do it before a meeting, before a phone call, before going into a conversation that you think is going to be a conflict, before you sit down and read that story to your child, before you sit down and you do that blog. So I want you to all just sit back in your chair, make sure your back is against the back of the chair, your feet are touching the ground. Your hands can either be up or down, and they're on your lap. And I want you to take a deep breath from your belly. So when you breathe, you can feel your belly expand. And when you breathe out, you can breathe out through your mouth as slowly as you can. Let's practice that one more time. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth as slowly as possible. Okay? That's what I want you to breathe for the next minute. So I want you to close your eyes, put your hands on your lap. I want you to take a deep breath, breathe out slowly, and I want you to focus on your feet. I want you to focus on the bottom of your feet. And I want you to imagine these beautiful, rich brown roots going down to the middle of the earth. Down, 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 down to Mother Earth, where your feet are now, your roots are now in the molten. And you are connected truly with Mother Earth. And in that next deep breath, you feel this beautiful white light coming out from the roots all the way up to your feet, your knees, your thighs, your hips, up your chest. You feel the white light coming across your arms, your hands, down your back. The white light goes up your neck and you relax your jaw. As the white light goes up your jaw, relax your eyes. And have that light go up from the center of your head and goes out like a fountain. And in that deep breath, take another deep breath. I want you to release any excess energy out to the top of your head and have it return back down to Mother Earth. Take another deep breath for me. Slowly breathe out as slowly as possible through your mouth. Bring your attention back to your feet. Wiggle your toes. Wiggle your fingers. Feel the chair that you're sitting in. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So I have a question for you. How did it feel to ground yourself in this way? Why don't you enter the chat? And how did you feel before we started the exercise to where you are now? I'd like for you to enter that in the chat. And Jenny, we have any responses? I'd love to hear what those responses are.
I have to say, Pat, I am loving this, and I know everybody else is too, but it is a pretty quiet group today. If we do get anything, then I will pop in, but
Absolutely.
it's been quiet. They may be, multitasking a little bit and listening in.
Oh, awesome. Okay, come in, come in, come into the room. So this exercise really empowers you. And where you're coming from the mind, body, and soul. You do this at the beginning of the day. You can do it in less than a minute. So if any time you're going into a meeting or into a conversation and you're scattered, you don't feel, you feel anxious, is that you can quickly take yourself to this place. It's ground yourself. You're going to take a deep breath. 1, 2, grounding. I'm setting my roots down to the middle earth. Come in, bring in the light. Shine the light all the way out through the center of the head. Feel excess energy. Take 2 or 3 breaths, and you can ground yourself just like that, so that when you're going into that meeting, all of your mind, body, and soul is in that meeting. So I talked about core values, and core values tell you how you show up, what is important to you. Core values should also be part of your company. Everyone should have a set of core values for your company. Because when you bring your core values into your company and you operate from your core values, your company hums. I mean, have you ever hired someone that was always late and one of your core values is punctuality? Man, is that a disconnect? Absolutely. What if one of your values is authenticity and the person that you hired was, or the vendor that you worked with, lied to you all the time? Have you ever had that experience where there was such a mismatch and such an unalignment of your core values with the people that you hired, that you worked with? Sometimes it can even be a client. Have you ever experienced that? So, being really mindful of what your core values is really, really key. So, just for the next minute,
Pat, I have to interrupt really quickly. I realized why we weren't getting a lot of comments. It sounds like the public chat is disabled for some reason. I've actually never had that happen before, but I just want you to get some positive feedback as you're going and know that people are enjoying this. People are saying that they do feel less scattered. They were actually stressed. Another person saying they were stressed trying to connect to WebEx, but now feeling relaxed and listening. Another listener saying that they feel peaceful and relaxed, and then somebody else chiming in saying, yes, it is all about relationships. So anyway, if you all are, I'm able to post in the public chat. I don't know, I don't know why everybody else isn't, but feel free to send them to Sarah National Events or send them to me directly, and I will get your, the feedback, great. But more importantly, if you have questions at the end, get them to me and I will get
yeah,
them asked. Somebody else saying that they're feeling emotional. So all the things. Okay, Pat, I'll
all
let
good
you
things,
continue,
all
but I
good
wanted you
things.
to know that people
Yeah,
were
okay.
tuning into what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. And so you want to make sure that before it's over that you actually have an opportunity to share your contact information as well, because you might connect with someone here that is a really good collaborator. Because many of you said that it's about relationships. And if I can facilitate a collaboration, within this hour, I mean, I am all for it. So let's go back to core values. All right. So for the next minute, I just want you to take a piece of paper out and I want you to write down, what are your core values? What are some examples of what you value as a person and what you value in your company? Is it motivation? Um, is it authenticity? Is it adventure? Is it family? Is it community? What do you value? Now, I want you to make a list just for the next minute here and just list as many as you can. List as many as you can. Right? Success, strategy. There are so many. So one of my core values is travel, and I love to travel. I'm curious. So that's one of my values. Integrity is another one of my values. And as an entrepreneur, I learned that having fun is a value. If it's not fun, girlfriend, boyfriend, I'm not doing it because our business is our life and it has to be fun. So, what are your values? And if you have a list and you want to share one or two of them in the chat, please do so. Share what your values are. Okay, so are we done with a minute here? You'll have some homework related to this, and I'll discuss that in a little later. So, one of the things that we talked about, I mentioned earlier, is that when you ask people, what is it to be mindful? People say being fully present. Amen. That is true. How is it that you're fully present? It's easy to say we have to be fully present. Well, how do I do it? This is how you do it. You're very mindful of your five senses. We filter all our life through our five senses. What we smell, what we hear, what we taste, what we see, and what we feel. That filter is made up of our senses. That's how we interpret and filter life. Hey, Arlene, I love it. And another way to be fully present is to have focus, is that eye contact, right? Is when you're talking to someone, talk to them like they're the only person in the room, the only person in the room. Being fully present is taking that deep breath, that full deep breath that brings you back into your body and connects you mind, body, and soul. It's focus. It's doing one thing at a time. I know some of you are multitasking. I know that. But let me tell you, as an entrepreneur, just work on one thing at one time and bring your attention to the task at hand because that's where your creative power lies. And then the other aspect of being fully present is slowing down, is being able to slow down. So I'm going to take you through another meditation. Again, put everything down, set yourself in your seat, feet on the ground, your hands can be turned up or down on your lap. I want you to take a deep breath, breathe out, take a deep breath, slowly breathe out. I want you to pay attention to your surrounding. What do you smell? I want you to pay attention to your sense of smell. What are you smelling in the room right now? Just make a note of it. What are you hearing? What are you hearing in the room? What are you tasting? Maybe you just had a sip of your tea or your coffee or you bit a cookie or something. What are you tasting? What do you feel? Do you feel the clothing on you, a piece of jewelry? Do you feel your watch? What do you feel? Right? And as you slowly open your eyes, what do you see? What do you see? Most of us have one sense that's stronger than the other. Do you know what that sense is for you? If you do, note it down. If you know what that sense is for you, write it, key it into the chat because it's a sense that you can depend on. For me, that sense is hearing. And I use that a lot in my conversations with my clients. When I pick up the phone and I'm having a conversation with them and I'm coaching them, I can hear in their voice. You can probably hear the thunder in the background. I can hear in their voice if there's something wrong. I can hear the tightness of their vocal cords, and they can tell me that they're fine. And I can say, Martha, I, you know what? I don't believe you because I can hear it in your voice that something's not right. If they answer a question and they really mean to say yes and they say no, or they say no and they mean to say yes, I can hear it. And I use that sense all the time because I know it's a strong sense for me. It's a detector, right? And I also, because I have this the sense of hearing that is very strong, then when I need an answer, I'll ask the universe, God, a higher sense, whoever that is for you, but for me, it's my higher self. Let me hear the answer to this question. Let me hear the answer. So I had one client whose sense was smell. Strongest sense was smell. And I'm like, how do you use that in your business? And I made her stop and think about it. And I said, have you ever said, something smells fishy? And you knew something smells fishy, that something wasn't right. So what is it for you? What sense is it for you? If you find that none of them really came out, then an exercise that I will put on the table for you is that tomorrow when you wake up, you say, I'm going to pay more attention to my sense of hearing. Let me hear what is not being heard. Or you may say, I want to sharpen my sense of sight so that when you're walking, you look up, you look down, you look to the left, you look to the right. Sometimes my husband, he just looks straight and he trips over things. And I go, Mitch, look down, look up, look down. Excuse me. Well, I can tell you that when you use your senses and you sharpen all your senses, your sixth sense kicks in. Your sixth sense will kick in. Excuse me. So, talking about meditation, we have two meditations. Does this meditation has you thinking? Because that's not what it's about, right? It's not about thinking, it's about being in your body and letting go of what's going on in your mind. Now, granted, it never gets to stop. When you're meditating, getting yourself present, there's always going to be ideas going through your mind. You just say, oh, that's interesting. Next. And you just let it float by. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Next. So it's not that you try to stop yourself from thinking at all, is that when you acknowledge it, you just let it float away like a cloud. Really, really important. So the soul work that I have for you is connected to your values. I want you to sit and take some time to ask yourself, in what ways is my work and in my life aligned with what's important to me? And if it's not, what do you need to change? And if it is, in what way is it? Right? So if you value integrity and you bring that into your business, and the way that you live it is that you do what you say you're going to do. You do that in business, in your life, in the community, right? If one of your values is fun, are you living? Are you enjoying life? Are you having fun? Or if one of your values is adventure, when was the last time you did something adventurous? So this is a time where you're going to sit back and say, these are the values that I identified. In what way am I really showing up? Align with my values, and where am I not? So that you can bring your business and your life more into alignment. That's mindful living. When you know your core values and you're living your values, you are living your ideal life. You are living a mindful life. You are being a mindful leader. So we talked about how to ground yourself every day so that mind, body, and soul are always in alignment, and the decisions and the things that you do and the way you respond come from here. We talked about your senses and how to turn those on so that you can hear what's not being said, so you can see the expressions on people and what they're saying, but what their face is showing that may be in alignment. It's about the touch, and having that compassion. All these things are all part of being mindful. Being mindful. Now, is this going to turn like a switch overnight? No. Take one of the things that we talked about today, whether it's grounding, deep breaths, sharpening one of your senses, maybe it's slowing down, and just practice that one thing. And it'll slowly then practice the next thing and then the next thing. It's like when you got on the bike. When you first got on the bike, did you know how to ride it? No. But it took practice, right? And you fell and you got back on. And that's what mindful living and mindfulness is about. It's a practice. It's a way of living that you want to bring in. Everyone here, thank you for coming. My gift to you as part of mindfulness is a human design assessment. And the human design assessment is your self-awareness guide. It is your user's guide per se. It's what makes you tick. Imagine if you knew what made you tick at a very deep level. Imagine if you knew what your signposts were so that when you were out of alignment, you knew that it showed up as frustration or bitterness or anger. Or what if you knew when you were in alignment that it showed up as satisfaction? What if you knew how to make decisions that were innate to the way you were born? Your life would change. You would live your life more mindfully. And that's what human design does for you. It was a life changer for me to know what made me tick, to bring a self-awareness that I had never had in my life through human design. And I am offering it for free. This is going to be the last time I'm offering it for free, to be honest with you, uh, because it is such a powerful tool that I incorporated into my practice, but I don't give it away for free anymore. So those that are in this class, I'm going to take 10 to 15 people who want to sign up and do a human design. And it's based on your birth date, your birth time, and location. And it's a combination of Myers-Briggs, astrology, genetics. It's a number of modalities. But at the end of the day, you get a report, a guide that says, this is your rhythm. This is how you were meant to grow your business. This is the way you were meant to make decisions. And to have that is a life changer. And I'm offering it to you today. So with that, Jenny, I want to offer, open up the mics and see if anybody has any questions, want to make any comments. What was one aha that came up for you like, oh my God, I didn't realize that my strongest sense was X, Y, and Z. Oh my God, I've never felt so relaxed. Oh my God, wow. I realized that there was a certain value. What can I answer for you? You have me for the next 15 minutes to talk about how to be a mindful leader in your business.
Yeah, so some questions coming in, and then also, are you getting thunder right now, Pat? I am getting like the biggest thunderstorm. I'm in Dallas right now, and it's like I don't know if it's coming up over the mic, but
Mine too. I have it
it's
in my
intense.
backyard right now.
Yes, somebody's saying that in terms of values, they mentioned education, truth, honesty, listening to others, encouraging people as their values. They were just responding to that one, and then sense you mentioned, sometimes somebody their biggest sense might be taste or smell, and they wonder how does that work for business. She said hers is taste. I taste gum. Living in the city, Houston, I breathe in pollution. I pay attention to what I am tasting. Somebody else saying that they really want to create a calm, safe space in their new home. So that's a goal, a project for the future. This is a really good question. It's great to talk about all this stuff, and it's great to say, okay, we, do one thing at a time. And somebody's saying, listen, what happens when there are not enough hours in the day, or when they get that sense that there's not enough hours in the day?
Mhm.
So, Pat, how do you navigate that? Can you take us through that process?
Right. So I get that question often. There's not enough time. I've been said, I don't have enough time to be mindful. I'm like, okay, time out. Your core values dictate a lot what happens in your day. So when I tell my clients that I'm just overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. There's not enough time to get everything done. I ask them, what are the 3 things that you can do today that are aligned with your goal? Just 3 things. Give me 3 tasks that you can do tomorrow that move your business forward. And that's all you focus on. Everything else waits because not all tasks are created equal. You're going to get things to do via phone, via email, via text from other people. And they're going to say, these are what my 3 things are. And I want you to go do one of them. Right. And that happens a lot. We get dictated by other people on what they want us to do. And I want you to stop that. I want you to stop and say, what are the most important things for me and my business that I need to do right now to move the needle. Then, when you get those done, then you can say, okay, I'm going to see what emails come in or what phone calls come in. Oh, okay. So David wants me to call him. Okay. You start then, which is urgent, what's important, what's urgent and important. There's a philosophy in which you can evaluate everything that comes your way so that you're making a decision methodically. And that's definitely that I teach clients. So if you know, you want to learn how to do that, then we can set up, take the assessment and we can have some time and talk about that. So it's about what are your goals? Having that vision, right? Because mindful leaders have vision. Mindless leaders don't have a vision. And so they're scattered and they're doing everything that everybody else tells them to do. So have your goal, 3 things. That's how you start your day.
Now, what do you say to the people who, say one of their values is responsiveness or, always getting back to somebody or always being there for friends. And so then they might hear that and think, gosh, Pat, that's in conflict. I'm going to feel so bad prioritizing myself if somebody's really in a state of not being able to prioritize themselves or their business. What do you say to them?
Mhm. Right. So you're a compassionate person, right? You care for people and you care how you support your family and friends. And that's important. But at the end of the day, are they going to move the needle in your business? No. So pick the first things that you need to get done. And once you get done, then you can call Jenny and catch up with her. Then you can do the self care for your mom. Then you can do the self care for your kids. But you have to, at some point, put yourself first on the list. Like, let me tell you, I was not the first on my list. I wasn't the last on my list. And look at what happened to me. Everybody became more important. I didn't honor my values. I got breast cancer. And I said, no more. So at some point, you have to say, I matter and I matter more in order to move your business forward. And it's not that you're going to throw those people to the wayside and not honor them, but you have to honor your vision of your business, your vision that you have for your family, and do the 3 things that will move you towards that. And then you can do the rest. You don't you honor because you're a compassionate person. You want to do things for others. I'm not saying ignore that. I'm just saying put yourself on the top of the list first. It's a habit that has to change. Sometimes it's can be hard, and other times it can be easy to do that, but it's necessary if you want to prosper in your business. You have to put yourself on the top of the list.
Love it. If anybody else has questions on that or follow up or anything like that, be sure to post them in the chat. I'm going through questions right now. Can you go further into detail about what human design is? You did the whole presentation, then talked about people can get the human
Yeah,
design,
so
but I don't know that many people know exactly what it is.
yeah, human design is really it is a I'm trying to think of the word. It's a new form of assessment that falls in the category of Myers-Briggs, Strength Finder, but it's cutting edge because human design is not built on how many questions you answered a certain way. Design is built on when were you born? What's your birth date? What time were you born? And that in itself is so unique that in your design, there's at least 16 elements of your personality that are defined in a human design. 3 of the ones are how you make decisions, how you show up when you're stressed, how you show up when you're in alignment, and also how you're meant to show up in your business. What environment do you best prosper in? How do you learn best? All of those little factors that we take for granted. It's like the user's guide to your washer. Well, guess what? You have your own user's guide. And that's what human design is. It's your user's guide. It is so fascinating what you will learn about your personal rhythm and how to use your human design to create the rhythm of your business your way, not the way other people want you to grow your business. That's what human design tells you.
Is human design manifestors, generators?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes.
My husband and I did it. What's the third one? Or are there
Manifestor
three?
generator, there's advisor, there's projector.
Oh,
There's a business part of it. I do the
okay.
business part of it.
Okay.
So if
Okay.
you're a manifesting generator, you would be an express builder. I'm a classic builder. Then there's innovator, and then there's advisor. So yes, there's four different types.
Oh,
And
interesting.
yes, and then the business perspective is totally different than the spiritual perspective. But
Oh,
it
I don't
is,
know which one I got. I don't know what all I know is that my husband and my child are both manifestors, and then I'm the generator, and I feel like it results in me doing all the work and them
it
telling me
does.
what to do. Is that accurate?
70% of the world is a classic builder or a generator, and we're the doers of the world. The manifestors come up with the ideas. They come up with the ideas, and we do. I'm that person. People tell me I'm a generator, classic builder. Oh, I'm already tired for you.
Yes.
We do a lot of the work. We are the work,
Especially when you have
and so
two
we
of
need
the
to find that
manifestors around.
balance. We need to find that balance as classic builders or generators. We need to know when to say no.
Right. So that's interesting. So since it is 70%, probably 70% of the people watching today
Absolutely.
are in
Yep.
that generator
70% of the
realm.
people.
So what is your advice for people who are maybe have a lot of maybe a lot of the manifestors around, a lot of the people with the ideas, and you're tasked with um,
Go do
executing
it.
all of them? Yeah.
Go do it. Right. It's around having the conversation of I only have this amount of time. Right now I'm going to get this I'm going to devote from 9 to 11 to do the things that are most important in my business. That's what I do. And from 9 to 11 is my time. It's my sacred time. Nobody interferes with that time. My husband doesn't interfere with that time. I get what's important done in my business from 9 to 11. And then I open the door and I'm like, okay, what is important that needs to get done? And let's have a conversation around that. So it's really, it's about, in mindfulness, it's about managing your energy and it's about managing your time because we don't get those back. And so when you know in your human design how you're best built to manage your energy and your time, then you become more mindful. Yeah, you become more mindful about that.
Yeah, beautifully said. What do you think is the biggest challenge when it comes to mindfulness?
Is that people think they have to turn it on and it has to be an overwhelming task. And it doesn't. Mindfulness, you can start right now just deep breathing. Just deep breathing because most people breathe from up here, but mindful breathing comes from the belly. And when you start breathing from the belly, it relaxes you. When you're relaxed, you're more creative, right? You come up with better solutions. Just if all you walked away with is, I'm going to start being present by fully breathing. I'd be happy if you just did that. And then you just start becoming aware, like aware of what's going on around you. Just become more aware. And really, when you take that deep breath and you become fully present, you're responding versus reacting. That is mindfulness, is responding versus reacting, which means take 2 breaths, align yourself, then answer. That's mindful living right there.
There's such a conversation around mindfulness, and I can assume that it's maybe because we need it more now, but perhaps we have more distractions. Why do you think it is so much at the forefront now as opposed to in
Yeah.
decades past?
Because when you're a mindful leader, you are actually not only focusing on your own self-awareness, but you're focusing on the awareness of that other person. When you're a mindful leader, you are listening, and we're going to have an exercise on that in the next session. You're listening to what they're saying. You have compassion for that person. You're paying attention to what's being said and not said, and you're coming up with win-win responses. So it's about really focusing on the person that's right in front of you. When we don't do that, we don't have employee engagement. Employees don't feel heard or seen because we're not mindful about listening to what's important to them. We're not mindful about what they're telling us and not telling us. We're not mindful about getting to know the person outside of what they do in an 8 to 5 job, or we're not mindful when we give them a task that there's more to that VA, there's more to that vendor than can you get this to me in the next 24 hours. When we care and we're mindful about listening and being compassionate and getting to know the person and taking a step back and watching how you're responding to what they're saying, then you're gonna come up with solutions that are more creative and that are more win-win. Because right now, people are not engaged in their jobs. They want to quit. They feel ignored. They don't feel heard or seen, and it's because we're mindless leaders.
Yeah, what's the
Unfortunately,
term that's out there? Is it silent quitting? Is that
yes.
the term that's out there where people just do the bare minimum?
Right, because they don't feel
Yeah,
appreciated
yeah.
because their management hasn't taken the time to get to know them, listen to them, see them for who they are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of figure I'm gonna fly under the radar and see what
Yeah, I
happens.
mean, they're not gonna, I'm not gonna get rewarded for what I do. If I work more, it's not even appreciated. It's because
Yeah.
we're not giving them the time.
Yeah.
They're not being seen and heard.
Well, Pat, today has been really lovely. I'm glad that it is part one of two. Give us a little tease about what's coming up next week.
Ooh, so next week is about listening and ways to listen. Right, because when we talk about the ways that we're listening, you're going to find that many of you were in distracted listening the entire time that we were together. So, how to listen to the person that's in front of you. And there's different ways of listening depending on what's being said. We're going to talk about self-compassion and how to slow down.
We're slowing down next week. Okay, Pat, thank you so much. I hope that you just stay dry. I hope you're able to just like stay in the office for the next little bit as we both endure this very intense storm.
And thank you everyone for putting up with the thunder.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't even hear it on here. So here's the deal, you guys. She mentioned that human design. That's really, really a really generous
Yeah, I'm going to put
gift.
the
So
link.
your website's up there in the comments. Majesticcoachinggroup.com.
And
Or is
there's
it
a
a different
special
one?
link that I'm going to put in the chat box where everybody can go in and
Got it.
let me see. Where am I? Here's the link. You go to this link right here, right? That's a shortcut. That takes you to the same
Yep.
page. But that's a shortcut. Go in and get some time and learn more about yourself. This is like I said, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity
Perfect. Well,
for you.
Pat, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Don't forget, you guys, subscribe to Sarah's YouTube channel. You can watch the replay of this again on Wednesday coming up. It'll be there by next week, which will be in perfect alignment for part two of this session on Thursday. Perhaps you want to send it to somebody. Perhaps you want to invite a friend or a family member, a colleague, somebody that works for you, that sort of thing. You are welcome to invite them in. For more on Sarah's programs, visit sarah-national.org. And I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye, everybody.